So this is Golden Magnolia Sanctuary. It's a bit out of sorts right now because we've been painting the dining space white. So we have a pretty big dining space. On Saturday nights, we have a band play, and it's usually just full of people and kids. I'm Cheyanne Holliday. I'm the kitchen director here at Golden Magnolia Sanctuary. I'm in charge of a lot of the stone soup kitchen operations. And out of this space, we serve plant-based meals 3 times a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 5:30 to 8 p.m. at a pay-as-you-may rate. So anyone can come in and they can get a meal for free, or they can donate anything they want for it. We're feeding a whole bunch of sorts of people within the community. And unlike a typical soup kitchen where people are kind of outing themselves as being in a certain state of economic disparity by coming in, you remain under this kind of veil of anonymity because no one knows if you're donating or if you're not donating. Okay. And so we have houseless people dining next to people who are quite wealthy. And so this space bridges that wealth gap. As I said, it's out of sorts, but this corner, when it's put together, is our free corner. So people come and they donate clothes or just honestly like random objects, and anyone can come and go through that corner and take whatever it is that they need. We have a bunch of resources up here. When people walk in, this is where you would be greeted. And some of it is like vegan resources. Other of it is just general resources for the community with like housing, with health, with domestic abuse. So when someone comes in, they would come up here and a volunteer would be behind the desk and they'd say, "Hey, welcome in. How many meals can I get for you?" Every night we have a different meal. We create a menu for the month. And so they'd come in, it'd be written on a board. So maybe it would be curry or tacos or burritos or chili or whatever it is. Yeah. And they can just tell us how many they would like either for here to go, and we just give it to them. And they enjoy it. When this is usually put together, this is a free library just in the corner, so anyone can leave or take whatever books that they'd like to. And then in this corner as well, we have all this like play stuff for kids. Tammy, who owns the building and is the director of the whole project, she's run a daycare for quite a few years, and she's looking to move away from that into something called the Create Space, which is going to be this like collaborative community art space. But she has all this kid stuff, and so the kids in the community love it, the families love it. Typically there's quite a few kids just running around playing here, and you know, this is a space where parents can come and they're not expected to pay money, which is like so rare in our society these days. And so the space serves like all different sorts of people. I can show you the kitchen next. Oh yeah, and we have, like I said, all out of sorts, but we have like a ping pong table, we have a piano, so people will come in and just like play the piano, and it's really lovely. And
foosball, I love
foosball. Yeah, people have donated so much. Like all these booths and a lot of the tables that you see were donated from a restaurant that closed down. All this equipment in the corner here that looks quite messy, it was donated also from a restaurant that shut down. A lot of it is out of order in varying degrees, and so we still have to fix it to get it up to commission. But a lot of people in the community have come together to make this possible, and are still coming together to make it possible. So this is one of our pantries, but this is our kitchen. I'm gonna turn on. Yeah, what are we making tonight? We're making a risotto tonight. So I have some stuff slow cooking overnight that I'm gonna be coming in around 3 and blending into like a cheesy sauce. And I'll be cooking rice and adding that in with a bunch of roasted veggies. We serve an average of well over 100 meals every night at this point. It has grown quite substantially. Here we actually keep track of the meals served. So like our low for this last month has been 92 meals served, and our high looks like 144 plus 14 that went into the free fridge outside, which I can actually definitely take you out there too. But yeah, this is our kitchen space. I used to run a restaurant called Plant, and our kitchen, it was in town. It's in the old Orpheum Theater building. You kind of have to be a local to know what that is, but I ran a vegan restaurant for 1.5 years, and that's what gave me the credentials to be able to join this team and help facilitate and create this in this sort of way, because I wouldn't have known how to do that before. But I had run that restaurant, closed the restaurant for a variety of reasons, wrote a book, wrote a book, and then I was selling it at a farmer's market that happens here. The farmer's market moves indoors in the winter, and that's when I met Tammy and Adrian. Are the 2 women who originally bought this building and made it into what it is. And so I was able to join the team. But maybe I can show you I'll show you the free fridge after, but I can show you the sanctuary space upstairs if you would like.
What's your story like? What made you go vegan?
Yeah, so my story is it was kind of gradual. So when I was, I think 16, so I grew up being like the biggest meat eater in my family. Like I loved meat. It was like steak was like my favorite food. And then when I was 16, I got really sick just randomly. For like 2 weeks, I could only drink smoothies. So this is our sanctuary space and it's just beautiful. This building obviously used to be a church. And now it's kind of just open for the community to rent out, also by donation for a variety of events. And it's just gorgeous, I love it. But getting back to that, I got really sick for a few weeks and I could like only drink smoothies. And then after that, the weirdest thing happened where like meat repulsed me. Like I was just grossed out by meat. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm vegetarian. And so I called myself like a shitty vegetarian, but I did that for maybe 6 months. And then, I went on a family vacation and watched What the Health and like came out of my room crying and I was like, Mom, I'm going vegan. And she's like, okay. And then I went back into my room and rewatched the whole thing and took like 19 pages of notes and then followed like 100 vegans on Twitter and was just like, I'm doing this. So it was first like the health draw and also the aspect of like, I had been lied to for so long about so many things. And within a month because I'd followed so many vegans on Twitter, I saw a vigil outside of a slaughterhouse and I was just like so moved by that. And then I watched Earthlings and that's when veganism actually cemented within me. Because before I was, centered around like a plant-based diet, but when the ethics kicked in within a month of the transition, that's when it really took hold. And I was living in the Portland area at the time in Washington. Mm-hmm. So I got involved with Portland Animal Save there and then just became like a vehement activist for a good year and a half that I was living there before I moved here. I was just heavily involved in the scene, so.
Nice. I need to go there so bad because I hear there's a pretty nice scene there.
Yeah, there is. It's definitely like evolved like quite a bit. I think a lot of places are unfortunately seeing a lot of like vegan restaurant closures and.
Well, that's just every restaurant.
Yeah. I think every restaurant is kind of just struggling with it.
Well, ever since COVID, it's been hard. Like I have friends who own non-vegan restaurants and just getting employees that want to work.
Everyone's demanding better. And unfortunately, like within the restaurant industry too, I learned personally, it's incredibly hard. It's so much work, it's so much effort, it's so much labor, it's so much of your time and energy and money. And I thought I would be the exception, but people were like, oh, it's gonna take 3 to 5 years to break even. And I was like, no way. And that was probably the case. But I also opened 4 months before COVID. So that wasn't part of the business plan. But I'm happy that everything happened the way that it could so that I can be a part of this project. And, I won't be a part of this project forever. I won't be living here forever, but I'm really happy that I could be a part of our foundational years. We are turning 2 this August.
Cool. And what kind of changes did you experience going vegan? Like physiological, mental, emotional, anything like that you want to share?
Yeah, so I was pre-diabetic. I then was no longer pre-diabetic afterwards. I had like high cholesterol levels. They had evened out within a month. I had been having pretty consistently like hypoglycemic episodes in the morning. So I would wake up and just feel so like violently shaky and unstable and sometimes would like crawl to the kitchen to eat something. I've maybe had like 2 similar type of things I went vegan in 2017, so it's been quite some time. And so like just in general, my body is a lot more stable. The cholesterol levels evened out. I haven't been afraid of like becoming diabetic. And I've also just been like a lot more mindful about my eating in general. But I mean, the social ramifications were pretty substantial for me. Because I didn't just go vegan, I became an animal rights activist immediately. And so that was extremely jarring for the people that like loved me. But some of them saw the issue that I was holding up and they were like, oh, that sucks, and I agree. And so I had some friends that also went vegan with me and made some really wonderful friends, and it has become this like foundational pillar of my life. Like, the soup kitchen is vegan, and that was a foundational thing when I came in and heard their dream. I was like, well, if it was vegan, I would be a part of it, but I'm not going to be a part of it if it isn't. And they were like, okay, sounds good. Love that. And so I love being able to, be a part of something like this. That's like, honestly, kind of revolutionary. So yeah, it's become a pillar of my life and has been definitely very beneficial for my body. And I like knowing that I'm not actively being a part of such an immense amount of suffering. That is, I mean, we're in Iowa. We're in the heart of animal agriculture here. There are more than 10,000 CAFOs, which are concentrated animal feeding operations. In Iowa alone, we're the number one for pigs, number one for like eggs, number one for, I believe, sheep, number two in a lot of things. So like I could drive you to several CAFOs within like a 10-minute radius of us. Oh my goodness. They built like a massive one by our main water supply. Living in Iowa, it's been, substantial. Like there are days where like hot summer days where they'll open, because there are these like big blinds that they cover not like windows, but the chain fence window-ish things within the CAFOs, and they open them to let the air flow, and that air flows into town. And so some days you walk outside and it's like you're choking on literally like feces. Yeah, here. Wow. And this is, I mean, you can ask anyone in a town anywhere in Iowa or in an area where there's a lot of CAFOs, but it's substantial here. Clean water is, I buy reverse osmosis water. I don't trust the public water supply. So it's just, it's really interesting moving into really the heart of animal agriculture here, which is why stuff like this and like Iowa Farm Sanctuary and like pillars of change are so important, because we're living in the heart of the issue. And so this is a place where radical change needs to happen. And like personally, a dream of mine is to transform those CAFOs into greenhouses and just do other things with them, because there are other people who have already done that, like people who own CAFOs who have made that choice on their own. Yeah. And if we were to move the government subsidies that are making animal products affordable into turning the CAFOs into greenhouses, it wouldn't even be like on you or I's dollar any more than it already is.
Wow. It's almost as if they're suffocating this town.
I mean, no, they definitely are. But then the thing too is that like humans tend to center themselves on an issue when we're actually the oppressors in this scenario. So while we are facing the ramifications of like the air not being clean and the water in the soil and like all of the ways that the oppression of the millions and millions and millions of animals are affecting us, ultimately they're the ones that are forcibly living in that. They're the ones that are never touching the ground. Like they're living their entire lives without ever putting their feet on the soil. And that is just so abhorrent to me. And like I've spent time inside of like CAFOs nearby. I've gotten trespassing charges for it. I've been arrested a few times. And watching, I mean, there was one instant where during COVID, there was something called ventilation shutdown that they started doing, because a lot of the slaughterhouses started closing down because they were like a hot spot for COVID. And so a lot of the workers were sick and had to leave. And so all of these CAFOs around here didn't have nearby slaughterhouses to send their animals to be killed. And so what they started doing instead is something called ventilation shutdown, which is where they would prepare a facility by basically sealing it off. They would put the pigs inside, close all airways, and then pump super hot air and steam into the room. And so they would slowly boil the pigs alive overnight. And they were doing this to so many of them. This was their solution. And then they just bury them. They would literally just kill the animals and like burn them or bury them or just get rid of them. And so I was contacted by an organization that had been contacted by a whistleblower within this. It was Iowa Select Farms, which is I think the #1 pig killing corporation in the state. And it was a truck driver within it, and he was like, this is wrong. This is wrong. And so he talked to the company about it, and the company was like, we don't care, obviously, like we're a pig killing company, like they're not, ethically founded. And so he contacted Direct Action Everywhere, and I'm in contact with some people there. And so I was contacted, and this is when my restaurant was still open, and it was really slow that day. And I was like, we're closing. And so we closed for the day. Me and my partner drove up, and we chained ourselves to the front of a facility that was going to be doing ventilation shutdown that night so that the pigs couldn't get in. We were obviously arrested, and my case ended up being dropped because when we were going to trial, I had asked my lawyer to subpoena their head of communication so that we could play the videotape. The people within Direct Action Everywhere had gotten audio and video of ventilation shutdown in one of the facilities. And so I wanted to play that and be like, speak to this. And they dropped the case 2 days before trial because they didn't want
to expose that.
They didn't want it exposed. But then in the same breath,
is that out there anywhere?
I mean, I would assume it would be it didn't technically go to court after that, so I don't know how much in records it would be. I've talked about it, but I don't think that's like a widely known thing. But in addition to all of that, within like 2 or 3 days after our arrest, they changed the law so that trespassing onto an animal agriculture facility was no longer a misdemeanor, it was a felony. Oh my goodness. So, when they want to pass laws, they're going to pass laws, and animal agriculture is just so deeply embedded within the law system, especially in this state, it's the economic system here. And so any law that they want passed, they will get passed. Like, I've had farmers stalking my Facebook pages. Like, it's just, it's crazy here. If anyone wants to do that kind of work, this is the place to do it.
Yeah, wow. Thanks for sharing all that. That's amazing. Is there anything else you want to show me real quick?
I can show you the free fridge. Yeah, we could go outside and maybe just like walk around the building too. It's a very beautiful space.
Has the social aspect improved any? You've got some really good friends now, I'm sure that.
Yeah, no, I definitely do. It's just finding more friends with like ethical alignment, really. Which I am not small in that department, but it can still be difficult. I mean, like for relationships in general, if like you love someone deeply, but they're also engaging in a practice that is extremely harmful to not just them, but to someone else, like to have, I've watched and seen firsthand so much like cruelty and so much death to animals that like if I'm seeing someone eat a ham sandwich, that's not a personal decision to me. They're not just eating a meal. Like I see the animal that was killed for that. Yeah. And so it is difficult because it's so normalized in our society. And so to be the one to speak up about that, you're seen as being aggressive or like you're causing a problem when no one wants to admit the victim on the plate. I just don't go to a lot of events that involve food unless I'm throwing them. So that's why I enjoy places like this where my friends can come and I can just serve everyone food. But this is the little free pantry. It has a little thing of how it works. So anyone's welcome to bring anything into it. And this unfortunately is not actually an all vegan space because people
might drop off whatever.
Yeah, they might drop off whatever they want. And so we do have that clearly. Not everything is vegan because we don't want anyone to get screwed over for that. But everything we put in here is vegan. So we'll put our leftovers in here so we can see what's like currently in here, but not much, 3 potatoes. People clear it out. We'll see if the soup I put in some, it's all gone. I'd put in like 5 large bags of frozen soup the other day from our leftovers. And so this is cleared out almost daily. Like whenever anything goes into it, people are taking it. So there's definitely a need within the community for this. Food insecurity is a real thing here in this county and also just in like rural counties in general. But I mean, we're seeing it across the board in people in cities, and there's been a growing population of houseless people here. And so it's wonderful to be able to serve them not just food, but food that is nourishing and healing for the body. At least 85% of what we serve is whole foods, plant-based.
So you also do a Veg Fest, right?
Yeah, so every year, this is our second year, we host the Midwest Veg Fest. And so we have vendors, live music on the square, which is just like a block away. It's a small town. But the whole point is really to raise awareness about this and to gather people from like all over to come and see what we're doing. And so we have a community dinner that we serve that evening so people can see what we're doing, be exposed to the pay as you may model. I'm going to be giving a presentation on how to do this in your area. We've had so many people reach out and be like, how do we do this? I want to do this. We're asking if we want to branch off and like franchise, and we don't want to franchise. We're doing our best to hold on here ultimately, but we want other people to be able to do this and to just have like little pockets of this sort of thing sprout up everywhere. And so I'm hoping that some people see what we're doing and want to start a similar thing in their area. And also just come learn about it if they're able to support because this is a huge financial undertaking, and ultimately we do need more support from the immediate community, ideally from the larger vegan community. We've reached out to several like vegan magazines and different news sources, and nothing's really wanted to pick this up, which has been weird to me because I haven't heard of a vegan soup kitchen anywhere else. But yeah, we're just hoping for like more exposure and to bring so many people from across the Midwest here for a day of just like fun and music and keynote speakers, and we're doing 2 documentary screenings. We're screening Christspiracy, which I'm so excited to show. I got to see a special like pre-major edited version like a year ago, so I'm excited to see how it's changed. But yeah, so it's going to be an annual vegan festival. So this is our 2nd year, but we're going to have it hopefully every year that we stay alive, which will hopefully be forever. So if you're seeing this, you should come check out whenever our next Veg Fest is, because this is worth seeing. And Fairfield's such a unique little town too that it's really wonderful to come and visit.
Yeah, I'm so blown away by how like beautiful the architecture is and how peaceful the environment seems and how laid back it is just in general. It's clean, and there was lots of vegan options. I went to Mira's restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like the best. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah,
it was
they're so good.
Yeah, I got to interview both of them last night. It was so much fun.
Before Raul actually opened that, he volunteered here for 4 months, and we were his previous kitchen experience aside from home cooking.
Oh, wow.
And then he said his dream of opening a restaurant, he did it. And so it's really cool to see people just sprouting.
So how can people find out more about you online? Maybe you have like a website or whatever?
Yeah, it's goldenmagnoliasanctuary.org. And if you want to check out Veg Fest, it's midwestvegfest.org.
And then what about you directly?
Me directly. My Instagram is cheyannes.love. It's CHEYANNE.love. Or maybe it's just Cheyannes. No, there's an S under Cheyenne, after Cheyenne.
We'll put a link in the description.
Yeah, okay, cool. But yeah, my name's Cheyanne Holliday, and you can find me on Facebook and TikTok and all the things.
Oh, you're so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.